everybody. I'm Bill Rabinowitz along with Joey Kaufman here at Beaver Stadium, where Ohio State has survived a crazy game against Penn State, 44-31. Ohio State trailed with about 9.5 minutes to go. They had two quick scoring drives and then clinched it with two more. JT Tuimoloau had a career game. He had a career. Four forced turnovers. CJ Stroud lit it up in the fourth quarter, and it was the first scare for Ohio State since really the opener against Notre Dame, but they prevailed.
Yeah, it felt tense. It felt like Ohio State going into the fourth quarter had a real chance to lose the football game. They were down 21-16. The offense had not scored a touchdown for 6 straight drives. They kept settling for field goals, and they did get inside the 40-yard line in the red zone. And they cracked Penn State defense. They scored 4 fourth quarter touchdowns. One of them by JT Tuimoloau on the pick 6, and they won.
Yeah.
It was quite a fourth quarter. It was quite a game. It was really a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, Ohio State's run game for the second straight game really did nothing until Travion Henderson broke a 41-yard touchdown run to give Ohio State the lead for good. But the bread and butter for Ohio State was C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison. 10 catches, 185 yards, no touchdowns, which is unusual for him, but so many clutch third down conversions. He really, they don't win this game without Marvin Harrison. They obviously don't win it without C.J. Stroud. They certainly don't win it without JT Tuimoloau today. I asked Ryan day afterward, how much did you kind of need this? Because they hadn't been tested since September 3rd, and there's no question that he felt like this was what they needed.
At times, this felt like a team that was playing that was inexperienced on the road. I think we saw that at times with their handling of the crowd noise. There were times it looked like they were trying to adjust things before the snap, and it was difficult because they couldn't hear each other because they were down on one half of the football field, which had 20,000 screaming Penn State students at them. So that was difficult. It felt like they were a team that had not been really battle tested on the road. It's Halloween weekend. They played one road game before this one, so it was a team, I think, that was learning to handle the road environment.
And for those who have not been here, it really is hard to describe what the atmosphere is like. It's really better than any place I've ever seen in the Big Ten. You have the pom-poms, which you can see on TV with the noise, and it's just a really intimidating place to play. And they're not going to face anything like this the rest of the year. I mean, it's not going to be like this in Northwestern. It's not going to be like this in Maryland. And then you're talking about neutral site games at worst. And so this was a game that you kind of looked at and went, this is a tough one just because it's at Penn State. Now, we know Penn State 2 weeks ago just got blitzed by Michigan, who ran for over 400 yards against them. And you kind of thought that might happen here. At least Ohio State would try to. Well, they did try to. They didn't really have any luck at all until Henderson's last touchdown run to give Ohio State the lead.
Yeah, that felt like the flavor of the game early on, where this was an Ohio State coaching staff that had watched Michigan 2 weeks ago just bludgeon Penn State at the line of scrimmage, and they tried at times to run on them. They couldn't. They tried to do bubble screens. Ryan Day mentioned after the game, they sort of viewed that as an extension of their run game, but Penn State's secondary closes fast, and it felt like between the run game, the horizontal passing game, it didn't really work, and it felt like Ohio State kind of settled into its groove, really, the start of the fourth quarter when they were down 21-16, and they were sort of in a 2-minute offense where 2 quick big plays by C.J. Stroud in the passing game, and then Travion Henderson goes for 41 yards. That felt like the turning point in the game a little bit, but when they were playing up-tempo and trying to really rip off some big plays or throw the slant to Marvin Harrison Jr., that's when things started to open up for them.
Because before that, it really looked like this might be Penn State's day. Because on their go-ahead touchdown drive to make it 21-16, let's see, there was a pass interference call on Ohio State on third down. Looked like the ball was overthrown, but they called the flag. There was a fumble. Oh, first of all, missed field goal. If they missed the field goal, Ohio State was penalized. They get another crack. They convert a fourth down. Nice pass from Sean Clifford, the tight end. And then Ronnie Hickman forces a fumble at the goal line. Penn State recovers. And it looked like Tommy Eichenberg had the Penn State running back on fourth down. He slips the tackle and rolls into the end zone. You think, that's the kind of drive that can deflate a team. And it didn't. What it did, right after that, Ohio State just took control.
Yeah, and this is not, with the exception of the Notre Dame game, this is not a team that's had to really withstand blows, repeated blows, and have to to come back and push it in the fourth quarter, and they did that to their credit. I think maybe going into this game in hindsight, I think we thought Penn State would be a test for them, and we thought Ohio State could have some trouble, but Penn State truly is always a rock fight.
Yeah,
with Ohio State. I mean, they, for whatever reason, just have a way of just lulling and dragging Ohio State into the mud, and it ends up being these hard-fought games. It felt like there was really a palpable relief for Brian Day in his post-game address. I mean, he was, I think, just relieved to come out of this one with a win, however you shake it.
Because after this, look, you got Northwestern next week, you got Indiana, you got Maryland. There's almost no way they lose those games. I mean, Maryland, I suppose, might be a little interesting. Then you got the big one. Now, Ohio State fans, I'm sure, watched this game and they thought, we know that Michigan plays bully ball, and Ohio State was unable to run the ball again for the second straight time, and there's concern. And I think it's legitimate concern. Until they can show that they can run the ball when the other team knows they're going to run the ball, it's going to be a problem. And they lost Mayan Williams. Ryan Day did not have an update in his post-game press conference about Mayan Williams. He's obviously been a terrific running back for Ohio State. Travion Anderson can obviously handle the load, but you don't want him to have to do it all. And so that's something to watch out for. But the run game is a legitimate concern now.
Well, I think it's important, Mayan Williams' status, because he is your bully ball runner. He is your more physical runner where he's going to scrape and fight for those yards. He only had 2 carries today before he came out at the end of the first quarter. And we don't know his exact status, but he had a cast on his right hand and he had tape on his right knee. So he was certainly, I think, banged up. And we'll see how long it takes him to recover. But the knee injury is something that's hobbled him a little bit. It's why he missed the Michigan State game.
Yeah.
So we'll see as far as his availability in the coming weeks. But if they are going to play that style of football or fight for those tough yards, he's somebody they need help with, because I think Travion can do that at times, but he's not that type of back. And sometimes they just need a better push up front.
I thought the offensive line, they were pretty good in pass protection. It kind of faltered to some degree in the second half at times. But I thought Penn State controlled the line of scrimmage in the run game. I mean, there's no question about that. Ohio State, it wasn't like Travion Anderson ran poorly. There was nowhere for him to go. And Ohio State still used to be able to get the edge on slower opponents. Well, Penn State's not a necessarily slower opponent. Their secondary is very good, and they showed it today. Now, they couldn't cover Marvin Harrison, but in terms of their speed, raw speed, getting to the edge and preventing Ohio State from breaking those kind of plays, they did a good job. I mean, this is a good Penn State team. I don't know what happened to them in Ann Arbor a couple weeks ago, but this was a different team than the one I watched on TV.
I think some of that you have to factor in just the home environments. You're
Absolutely.
playing at Michigan, and they're playing their
Right.
home. And with college football players, 18 to 22-year-olds, I think a lot of that crowd can be a big deal. I mean, it was loud here. It wasn't a whiteout, but they did a stripe out. It was 108,000 people. It was loud for a lot of key moments. The student section, I think, really gave them a good jolt of energy.
Yeah.
It was a good test for Ohio State, and they cleared it a couple days before the playoff rankings come out.
Yeah, that's right. I said something to Rob Aller, who was sitting next to me. I said, and when they went down, I said, well, they're not going to be number 1 in the CFB rankings. We'll see what happens the rest of the day. I don't know what's happened. But, they dodged the bullet today. This was the one that you kind of figured, other than Michigan, was going to be the tough one. Because it's here, after the Michigan Penn State game, I thought maybe not, because of how badly Penn State played in that game, in the second half of that game. But that's a legitimate team, Penn State. I mean, they've got some real weapons. Parker Washington had a phenomenal game, wide receiver, and Ohio State survived. So you need a game like this. You can't just coast all year. You're going to have adversity. You're going to have a tough game. And for them to survive it says something.
That does it from State College. Bill Rabinowitz and Joey Kaufman. We will have more up at dispatch.com and coverage throughout the week. Thanks for listening and watching.